As many of you know from watching my videos, I believe the rapture is coming soon. Lightning. Lightning seems to be a key effect that will be happening. Matthew 24:27. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Luke 17:24. For the Son of Man in his day will be like the lightning, which flashes and lights up the sky from one end to the other. Zechariah 9:14. Then the Lord will appear over them. His arrow will flash like lightning. The sovereign Lord will sound the trumpet. He will march in the storms of the south. Psalm 18:12. Out of the brightness of his presence clouds advance, with hailstones and bolts of lightning. Ezekiel 1:13. The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire, or like torches. Fire moved back and forth from among the creatures. It was bright, and lightning flashed out of it. These are all instances where there's lightning. There's also some wind going on in here, windstorms, things like that. In 2 Kings 2:11, describes Elijah and his being taken up, another form of rapture. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up into heaven in a whirlwind. Isaiah 66:15. See, the Lord is coming with fire, and his chariots are like a whirlwind. He will bring down his anger with his fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. 2 Kings 6:17. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, O Lord, open his eyes so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. The book of Enoch, this comes from the Coptic canon. We know that Genesis says Enoch walked with God. We know that Jude referred to Enoch as a prophet, and so I'm going to give credence to Enoch here. In the book of Enoch, from the Coptic canon, chapter 14, verses 8 through 10, a vision thus appeared to me, referring to Enoch. Behold, in that vision clouds and a mist invited me, agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forwards, while winds in the vision assisted my flight, accelerating my progress. They elevated me aloft to heaven. All of these things refer to those who were caught up to heaven or rapture and the day the Lord returns. It seems to me that when angelic beings or heavenly beings or the Son of Man comes and goes from this earth to heaven, these are the events that will be seen. Flashes of light, similar to lightning, fire, wind, and whirlwinds, and a lot of commotion. In Luke 17, Jesus gives 3 warnings. He says, if you're on your rooftop, don't go back inside. He says, if you're out in the field, don't run home. And remember Lot's wife. Okay, so he's talking about, people doing things that he doesn't want them to do. And he refers to a specific day. He says, on that day, he who is. So these are warnings. We're not to be like Lot's wife. We're not to turn away from our salvation. Apparently, this only makes sense to warn someone not to do something if you're afraid that they might. And so there's a possibility that we're going to make a poor choice. Later, Jesus says, 2 will be in the field, 1 taken, 1 left. 2 will be at the mill, 1 taken, 1 left. This taken and left thing, I can't get past. In the original Greek, paralipsomai, or paralambano, the Strong's Concordance G3880, says to be taken close. Now Jesus is telling us through his disciples, through his word, that those that are taken close. Okay, I want to be taken close to Jesus. I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't. And the only reason he would tell us, hey, these people are going to be taken close, these people aren't, is so that we'll make a right choice. He says, those who run to save their lives, or those who seek to save their lives, will lose them. That means that people are going to run, or are going to try and save their lives. Why would you try and save your life? Because you're afraid. It's the only reason that we would try and save our lives. So quite possibly, on that day, we're going to be afraid. Well, the Bible says every time an angel shows up, we're afraid anyway. Most people, and they have to hear, do not be afraid, do not be afraid. So what is it that we're going to see? Well, behind me I've talked about this pulpit, these placards of the man, ox, lion, eagle. This all comes from Ezekiel 1:10, where Ezekiel describes the beings on these flying wheels and what they look like. Now, they're obviously of the Lord, because later on in that verse, Ezekiel sees God and hears God. So, but they're pretty disturbing looking creatures, and he describes them as the creatures. Ezekiel 1:13, the appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals or of fire, or like torches. Well, I'd run from that. But Jesus says, don't. You want to be taken. So when he sends these things to take us, let yourself be taken. And when there's flashes in the sky and lots of wind, and it's around the right time of year, you want to go.